She-Hulk is a series that failed on practically all frontiers. Jennifer Walters as a character goes through no real challenges, no real character growth, and it ends the series basically exactly where she started. It's sad to see a character with so much potential and popularity from the comics get the same treatment like all the other characters do nowadays. But normally it's quite a gradual thing, and from the get-go, you might get the impression that your character has genuine struggles in their life, feeling the need to do more, and overall, is still a very likeable presence on the screen. But unfortunately, She-Hulk was doomed from the very start, and this is what I'll be discussing today, because the show drastically failed at introducing us to this character and earning her any kind of credibility as someone to root for, and instead, it just set up what we all feared. In comparison, I'm going to discuss the first scene from Iron Man, which is honestly, in my opinion, one of the best introduction scenes in the entire MCU, and perfectly sets up the character in the span of just a few minutes, giving us a solid impression of Tony's status, attitude, and humorous personality that we came to hold so dearly to our hearts, and still do even to this day. Anyway, let's not waste any more time, and instead, take a look at the very first scene from She-Hulk, shall we? So from the get-go, we see Jen reciting her speech that she's going to use at what we assume is quite a big case, which lets us in on the fact that she's a lawyer, and it gets the viewer wondering, about what her place in the firm is, and what kind of case she's up against. Now throughout the speech, her male co-worker mutters a few criticisms, such as,
"They did this,"
which gives us the impression that this man is probably more experienced than her, or has spent more time in this job, and knows how to gauge more of a positive reaction from the judge and jury when giving a speech. He probably also thinks of himself quite highly, with a bit of an, asshole-ish kind of attitude. Anyway, after Jen finishes her speech, she's automatically praised by her paralegal, which is fine.
And you win the case.
She wants to get her friend in a good mood and in a positive mindset to win the case, and since she's not a lawyer unlike the man in the room, she probably doesn't have as much knowledge on what makes a good speech, and so because in her head it sounds so great, she automatically tells Jen that the speech will win her the case, where Jen then, breaks a smile. So far, the scene's going pretty well. We know Jen's a lawyer, she's about to go up against a case, she's got a co-worker who clearly doesn't like the speech. So, what will happen next? Will she be challenged by the male lawyer, told that she's not ready for the case, and dismissed from what we learn is one of many, which sets her character up to be someone who never gets enough chances to prove herself, and keeps coming second to other workers at her firm, with more authority or experience than she does. And despite the hard work that she put into her speech, she's missed out once again on a big opportunity, and left wondering how she can overcome this. Well, no, because then the rest of the scene happens. The paralegal tells the male character that he's no longer useful here,
and you are not helpful here at all,
implying that his advice is basically useless from now on, and that he'll be dismissed at any second now. He tries to combat this by telling Jen that she's not ready and that he should give the speech.
I feel like this is going to land better coming from me.
And that there's plenty of time to switch things up and let him take over.
You got plenty of time to switch things up and let me do the closing.
But then, as we expected, he's just kicked out of the room and left arguing that she shouldn't be listening to a paralegal's advice over his own, and calls him unprofessional, which it kinda is.
You're gonna listen to a paralegal over another lawyer? This is unprofessional.
To which Jen then sarcastically replies,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then the two remaining have a nice little chit chat about how amazing Jen is.
That was so good.
The paralegal continues to hype up Jen, and we discover that she was actually picked personally to do this case.
Jen, there is a reason why you were handpicked to go against GLK&H, okay?
Basically establishing that she's actually got a very good position at this firm, and clearly is very good at her job. She then turns to the camera, tells us about how she's now a Hulk, and then we get the rest of the episode. So from this introduction scene to Jennifer Walters as a character, we gathered that she's a lawyer with a solid position at her firm, who's clearly, good at her job. She dismisses the advice of a male counterpart who's also a lawyer, just because her bestie called her amazing, and I guess she's now a Hulk. I mean, I don't know about you, but it seems like she has a pretty good life here. You would think that for this character, she might have to overcome some kind of challenge within her job, which could lead into some, character growth for her. But instead, it's established that she's actually doing great. It also doesn't help that she comes off as a bit of an asshole herself by automatically dismissing the advice of a male co-worker, which set up the blatant man-hating that's just so apparent throughout the rest of this series.
Females, am I right?
Yes.
What?
And it doesn't really get her on our side. It's no wonder that the rest of the show doesn't work, and that there's really an instance where I'm actually rooting for Jen, or perceive her character as someone that I can actually look up to. On the other hand though, we have the very first scene of Iron Man, and what we received was an extremely subtle and well executed few minutes, which set up the character perfectly. Because in this scene, we start off with Tony in a van with a few soldiers holding a glass of scotch, as AC/DC's Back in Black plays over. And this gives us an insight straight away. He's a high-class man worthy of army protection, enjoys alcohol, and the song gives us a clear sense of his chaotic and rockstar kind of lifestyle. He then breaks the silence, saying lines such as,
I feel like you're gonna pull over and snuff me. What, you're not allowed to talk?
And throughout small talk with the soldiers, gets a laugh out of all of them, and establishes that he's actually a man who they all admire, and are slightly intimidated by at the same time. He also takes a photo with one of the soldiers, showing that he's quite down to earth, and probably just likes the attention. However, the photo is cut short when the van gets attacked, to which he manages to get out of, only to be hit with a grenade of some sort, leaving him bleeding out, to then wake up being held hostage by a terrorist organisation. What's so great about this scene? Well, it sets up his character growth straight away. From the situation he's in, we know that he has great power and status, which intimidated the other soldiers in a sense. He also has a playful humour with them all, which shows that he's good at getting people on his side and to like him, which he probably developed from quite a playboy lifestyle and from the charisma that he gets along with it. He also comes off as pretty careless as he drinks his scotch casually while in the van and begins small talking what others might find quite a serious scenario, which also probably comes with the territory of all his fame and fortune. But then he's left bleeding out and held hostage by terrorists, putting him in a scenario where he can no longer joke around, and in which he'll come to realise that his weapons manufacturing has come to backfire and led to the deaths of many people, which he will no longer tolerate. There's clear likeable qualities about Tony, but also clear flaws, and the viewer's left excited to see what's next for the character, and curious about how he'll overcome this challenge, and grow as a person because of it. Unlike She-Hulk, which sets up Jen as someone with very little likability as a character, seemingly earning a good living for herself, and who we come to learn is basically just given her powers, and is perfect at utilising them from the get-go, rather than Tony, who had to go through a bunch of trials and tribulations to become Iron Man. I mean, I could do a whole other comparison on the both of them learning to handle their abilities, but that's for another time. All of this is to say that She-Hulk did a very bad job at bringing us to like Jennifer Walters or care about her story, while Iron Man managed to do the complete opposite in the same amount of time and managed to show and not tell what the character's like. I mean, considering what Marvel has become, I look back on these early days of the MCU with a lot of gratitude, and despite the ups and downs, I would happily rewatch Phase 1 over Phase 4 any day of the week. The drastic difference in these two scenes, plus how they were perceived by the fans in comparison, tells you all you need to know about what the fans actually want, and I guess we'll see if Marvel can return back to their early days of quality anytime soon. But for now, all I can say is, thank you for watching the video, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Won't force you though, of course, and I will see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye!